All right, it's the day after, and already we've seen quite a lot happen in the earlier part of the day. Welcome back to our Verdict Studios, The Verdict, on the day after the elections have taken place. Of course, there are elections still taking place in some places across the country. I am Laji Akeredolu-Ale, and I've got my other crew members with me this afternoon.
Really crew members. This is Joma Onyato, and indeed, some elections are still going on. Reports are coming in about where smart card readers were not used, about where it was peaceful and where it was not so peaceful. But just to let you know that we're still here for you up until when collation starts, and when it ends, we don't know when it will end, but we'll be here to capture it when it does. So hashtag the verdict if you want to drop us a line or a picture. We were talking about using your PVCs, but now add your thumbprints to show us if you voted yesterday. And if you're taking part in the elections, new elections, that is, reruns, is that what they're called?
Well,
fantastic.
Continuous
election, exactly, before we call it the wrong thing. So you take pictures of that as well and send to hashtag I voted. And there's also hashtag 2019 elections, and NT will tell you how else you can communicate with us and let us get the story from where you are.
Thank you, Joma. I'm Neil Tagwan. Good day, you could join us. So yesterday, over 100,000 polling units were almost active, or we're active. We're supposed to be
not all
active.
at the same time, but
not all at the same time. But now the results are pouring in, and we're keeping watch on what's happening around the country. But you can follow us on our social media platforms and watch us on the go. Our YouTube channels live at youtube.com/channels television. Subscribe and watch what's happening here as we bring in people who voted, who observed, analysts to look at the election, the processes, how we can get better, and hopefully we will still be here when INEC declares our final result.
And don't forget to tell them that nowhere else can you get the most robust coverage of this election. It's a 24-hour thing, and we will be with it right here on your nation's news leader, Channels Television.
I need to mention here, Ladido, that we have our correspondents spread across the country and also around the world. We have Nigerians who are monitoring what's happening in the country from outside the country, and we'll try to get their views and what they are seeing and bring it to you. And they are watching even now to hear what you're saying, what you're thinking, and how you're feeling about the election.
And it's interesting that they're sending us best wishes from Newark, New Jersey, from London, South Africa, and everywhere else. All eyes are on us, and all eyes are on Senegal as well as they
are voting.
Get ahead.
They're going to start today, and. Well, we'll keep an eye on that too, because that is part of our region, the West African sub-region, and it's a very big country as well, Senegal, though not as big as Nigeria. So, in any case, as usual, you know the form now, you know how to get in touch, you know what to do, how to do it, and we ask you to get a very cool drink and find somewhere to sit, which is extremely comfortable, because it's going to be a good ride.
And it's interesting as all the results begin to pour in, and you can watch the live counting as well. And we're going to bring that to you as well as the INEC chairman's briefing. Well, let's call it the briefing from INEC.
Let's call it that. The weather is also very cool. After the heat and the tension from yesterday, the rains came down this morning, and that's
so you can see it's a media village out there.
The INEC situation room, we're anticipating that briefing any moment from now. Yesterday it was Mr. Festus Okoye, the chairman of the INEC Committee on Voter Education, who briefed.
I remember him trying to say that I'm not going, I'm still here.
I'm still here, that we're all still here.
Because they still had a lot of questions.
Oh, yes, we're all still here. And I get the hall isn't quite full yet.
Not yet.
But I'm sure that by the time he comes in for his briefing, it will be a bit fuller. Like yesterday, a lot of people are still out because, as we told you earlier, voting is still going on in many parts of the country. We're receiving reports on the voting exercise from those places. That's going on side by side with collation, and of course, in many places, results announcements. Now, that already is beginning to brew some level of controversy, but we'll tell you more about that in the course of the program. We are not allowed to announce any results until they have been made by INEC. So, anything you see on any social media page, anybody announcing anything.
And that includes predictions. And,
projections, and all of that. Well, please take with some caution. Please take with some caution.
And it's interesting, people are looking at how security played out. Before the elections, we were told there was going to be security. and we have the policeman's names and numbers attached to each polling unit, but that didn't stop some of the reports that were coming.
Oh, yes.
That we were hearing.
But then as we found out, I mean, if you're talking about 120,000 roughly polling units, and then some 57,000 extra polling points, and then you're talking of 323,000 policemen. It's maths.
But you know that there were some complaints coming in to say that those who were at the polling unit were not armed. And so you had a whole crowd of people who were being disruptive, and one policeman struggling to do his best.
So, you know, appealing to better judgment.
On one side, you say, they shouldn't be armed, we shouldn't see security. And then on the other hand, they now want the security. So,
and in view of what we saw with the issue of ballot box snatching, burning of election materials, people having to flee for their lives. On the other side, you are having late voting, voting not starting at 8 in many places. If what we heard from the Civil Society Election Situation Room is correct, 41%, even though INEC gave its own figures as well, which indicated that in some places by 10 it was 100%. But there were, it's agreed, some places where the election didn't start on time. It didn't start until
10:45.
10:45, 11, 12, in some places 3:45, where the national chairman of the PDP voted, Anthony, somewhere in River State. It didn't start until after 2. That is the entire process and so on. So again, there was some place where it didn't take place at all, like Bonny Island, which
you were about to say.
I was going to say something about the security situation. Now, there are some people who've been talking about the fact that the confidence level in the security operatives in Nigeria is dropped and continues to drop because of the way they are treated. So they don't even believe in the authority of the uniform they wear. Because if they did, they'll understand that it's not about the weapon you carry. Your uniform alone is enough authority for you to stand and say enough is enough. So I went to a polling unit.
I didn't want to chuckle because it's a very serious
yes, I went to policeman that was screaming at the top of his lungs. Nobody was paying attention.
That's the thing. What I was saying about the authority in the uniform. The authority is not just the weapon. The weapon can be done away with, because even the armed robber carries a weapon. And that's negative. I'm talking about the positive side of it. That uniform in itself is an authority symbol. So when the policeman walks in and understands the authority he carries on himself, then the citizen also understands that. So I bring this up because yesterday when I went to the polling unit, the policeman was sitting down there cowed. I was like, that's the man that's supposed to be in charge.
Did he have a weapon, though?
He didn't have a weapon.
Okay.
So there was a policeman, there was a civil defense officer who had a higher rank. There was an FRSA official there, so there were about 3 of them in that polling unit. But the person in charge was the FRSA official. Now, I remember when we had guests here who told us when it comes to any decision-making per se, the police is the lead. So when I came in, when one of the experts wanted to talk to them to see if they will let me vote so I can come back to the studio, he actually went to the policeman to talk to the policeman. Meanwhile, the civil defense officer was standing, being of a higher rank, was standing, but he walked by him, went to the policeman. The policeman was the one that came up to talk to the civil defense officer, and then I was allowed to come in and
vote. So you say there was still the lead in your own case. There was still a lead. You see, but it comes back to what I was saying earlier. We should make up our minds what we want to do, because you say we shouldn't see the arms and we shouldn't see the police, or the army physically there. But then things happen. Oh, where was the police and where was the army? So
now when I said the authority in the uniform, the police usually when they hold the weapon, it's as if they're brimming with confidence. That's why any little thing you could hear that, But if they are not with the weapon, sometimes some of them, not all, some of them are cowed because they feel like I have no power.
So you want them to have the weapons at the polling unit?
No. They need to, and there has to be a reorientation of the police, of some of the policemen, to understand that in your person, in your uniform, is authority. So when you stand, you need to understand that you are an authority and you don't need a weapon to exercise the authority of policing.
Will we do the orientation in time for March, the 9th of March? No. Because we're looking at this present
It's highly
process.
unlikely.
It's highly unlikely.
So what should we know? The reason we're analyzing this election so much is because we have another one coming up.
Yeah.
And what can we do differently? It sounds like where we were in 2015. So I don't know what the security architecture, as they like to call it, will be on the 9th of March. It's something we have to look at.
Especially against the increasing reports of violence. All through the night, of course, many of them are yet to be verified because they're coming via social media. One person killed here, 2 people killed here, 11 people injured there, and so on. Right across. Someone mentioned it here on the program yesterday that it appears as if the theater of violence is widening. There were some very well-established flashpoints previously, but that those flashpoints are now spreading in terms of number and in terms of variety, where it could come from.
One of our panelists this morning, and he was talking about how we've moved away from ballot box snatching to now actually burning down the materials and the entire place where the voting is taking place, which is very concerning.
Yes, because if that continues to happen, then it will have impact on voters wanting to go, to go to the polling booth and vote, for fear of being caught up in, and it goes back to the issue of security.
Yeah.
And the kind of security. Yesterday there were reports that, for example, in one particular polling booth there were anything like 20, 30 policemen, whereas for quite a number elsewhere there was none.
I think they were talking about high-density areas not having enough, and then high-brow areas
yes, having more than enough.
Yeah.
And then the issue of VIPs, VIP quote-unquote polling units, where more prominent citizens are expected to vote, and the order that brings around. But
and so essentially, we're also looking at the dynamics of collation, which is where we're going now.
You know, I think it was Ladida mentioned yesterday about the stages of collation. They have to start from the polling units,
yes,
down up to
vote count,
go to the wards,
yes,
then go to the
local government, and then take it to the state, and then before you take it to the national.
So as of today, some of our reporters were reporting that, like Enugu, for instance, Nkiru was reporting that the results were just coming into the collation centers at, I think, 11 a.m. or thereabout. Some had come in, they were still expecting others. Some other states, Niger, I think Lafia also, they had already started the collation process. They started counting.
And some states, they're done already.
In some states, they're done. But some other states haven't even seen results from elections that were done yesterday.
Some haven't even voted.
So that's the same logistics issue that were there for the distribution of materials appear to be wearing their head again when it comes to bringing back the results. So how do we resolve all of this? How do we get around all of this?
Now, sorry, Enti, let me put you on pause because we're talking about collation. And Joy Odinya in Oka, I believe it is, in Anambra State, is joining us to give us an update on collation of results from the southeast state. Joy?
Voting has ended in Anambra State and collation is ongoing now. We had a chat with the returning officer for Anambra Central Senatorial Zone at the Oka INEC office, where he told us that in various areas where the collation is going on in Oka North and South Federal Constituency, which is part of Anambra Central Senatorial Zone, that the exercise was going on very well. And reports from other local government areas that make up the Senatorial Zone, that the exercise was also going on very well in those areas without any incident.
Results started coming in from different wards to this place, especially the wards in Oka South local government area. Started coming in from night till this time. It remains about 2 wards to enter their, submit their final results to the local government collation officers. And immediately, once they finish, the federal constituency, Oka North and South federal constituency, returning officer will take off the job alongside with the senatorial returning officer.
So far, so good. The collection of results from the wards is going on very well. And we're very impressed with the level of preparedness and the smooth running of the collection of the results.
And then a little bit of what happened yesterday. We heard that a corps member was abducted in Orumba North local government area. But today, the police public relations officer, Mr. Haruna Mohammed, told journalists that the corps member had regained his freedom unhurt. And more of police activities yesterday speak volume of preparedness, because they had their aerial patrols and even the vehicular surveillance, where they arrested about 7 suspects for vote buying and disruption of the electoral process. They also told us that in some areas in Onitsha, there were incidences of ballot box snatching, but some of these things were nipped in the bud because they were on hand to take care of the situation.
Very good. That's from Joy Odia in Oka in Anambra State. Good news. She talks about...
so far so good in
yes,
some of the
very
places,
good. And
yes.
that security was up to the task in Anambra State.
In spite of attempts for ballot box
snatching and so on, and that people have been arrested for that. The youth corps member who may have been abducted or kidnapped, has regained his freedom. Again, efforts by the police, kudos to them in Anambra State for that purpose. And that collation is ongoing, which is what we talked about. Collation is ongoing. You'll see that they talk differently about the senatorial ballots as well as the presidential ballots. So these are being handled, and I think Rotimi Oyekami mentioned that yesterday, that what was being handled by one person in 2015 has now been split into two people. One person handling the presidential, one person handling the senatorial and the House of Reps. Of course, because we have more parties now, that may have offset the advantage of having 2 people doing the collating. We'll take a break at this point, and when we return, the verdict will continue.